picture. And let's get started. So, hey everyone, welcome. My name is Candice Kita. I am the interim co-ED at APANO. And we're really grateful to have you here at our event featuring our artists and residents from the East Portland Art and Justice Lab. I think my share went somewhere. So hold on just 1 second. There we go. And we are going to have some really great presentations from our artists and residents tonight from the lab. So I would just like to welcome folks in the space, as well as call out our artists for tonight. So as I mentioned, I'm Candice Kita. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the interim co-ED. And tonight you'll be hearing from Nikki Acevedo, Sabina Haque, Cary, Miga, Myra, Aldan, Roshani, Thakore, and Felecia Graham. And our tech will be provided by Brina Cortez. So if you have anything that arises for you, feel free to message Brina in the chat. So I want to just start us off with a land acknowledgement. If you've been to our resilience series, you may have seen this in the past. But since our activities are shared digitally on the internet, let's take a moment to consider the legacy of colonization embedded within the technology, structures, and ways of thinking we use every day. We're using equipment and high-speed internet not available in many Indigenous communities. Even the technologies that are central to much of the art that we make leave significant carbon footprints, contributing to changing climates that disproportionately affect Indigenous peoples worldwide. And this is from Adrian Wong of the Spiderweb Show. So thanks to Adrian for that. In addition, since a lot of us, maybe not all of us, but a lot of us are doing it from Oregon. Oregon is currently seated on the Portland metro area is currently seated on the traditional lands of the Multnomah, Cathlamet, Tualatin, Kalapuya, Wasco, Cowlitz, Clackamas, bands of Chinook, Molalla, and many other tribes who made their homes along the Columbia River. And I invite you to join us in acknowledging all of the above as our shared responsibility to make good use of this time and for us to consider our roles in reconciliation, decolonization, and accomplish it. We'd also like to share our statement of solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement. We want to acknowledge that our society has deeply rooted within it centuries of white supremacy economies built on the enslavement, the disproportionate imprisonment of Black folks, the violation of human and civil rights, and the concentration of extreme wealth into the hands of a small, mostly white, male elite power structure. And we explicitly name anti-Blackness as the root of most oppression and racism. We believe this will allow us to be better equipped to dismantle harmful structures and institutions that we are working with and within. And this is from our former colleague, Jayraj Singh. So to think a little bit through and provide some context for tonight, I know some of you might be more familiar with our Artists in Residence program already, but if this is your first time or hearing about it or learning about it, all of this kind of really started with our Orchards of 82nd art plan. And the Orchards of 82nd is a mixed-use development in East Portland at Southeast 82nd and Division. And it's home to APANO offices and 48 units of affordable housing. And we devised this art plan in 2019 as a way to think through how we want arts and culture to be part of APANO's new home. And Roshani, who is with us tonight, did an amazing job in leading us through the creation of this art plan, which we still use to this day. One of the things that came out of the art plan was something called the East Portland Art and Justice Lab. And the lab is kind of an overarching kind of container that nurtures engagement, leadership, and change agents by hosting lots of different art activities, including festivals, discussions, residencies, and events. And it weaves together the value, knowledge, and experiences of APANO, which is a culturally specific grassroots social justice organization, Rose CDC, a community development corporation investing in affordable housing in Southeast Portland, and tenants living in the 40 units of affordable housing at the Orchards of 82nd. And all of this is to really create our own cultural fabric in East Portland. And the artist residency program that we'll be talking about tonight really got started in September 2020. So at that time, we paired 3 local artists with 3 OD2 residents to learn and create new community artworks together. And over the past year, our 6 artists and residents learned about collaboration and research practices, worked with community members, and developed a public project that engaged residents of the Orchards of 82nd, as well as folks in the Jade District. And our goal has always been to cultivate community resiliency and a strong social fabric by building pathways to preserve and sustain connections between neighborhood residents. We have a pretty strong anti-displacement, anti-gentrification lens to our place-based work. And we want to make sure that we uphold the traditions and values and experiences of folks who live in the neighborhood. So that's just a very brief introduction to our artists in residence and our residency program. And I really want to pass it off to the artists themselves, because that's what y'all are here for. So with that, I'm going to pass it to our first set of artists, Roshani, Thakore, and Felecia Graham.
Thanks, Candace. Hi, everybody. It's good to see y'all, and so happy I'm very excited to share our work with y'all tonight. So welcome to the presentation of our project, Black Earth Matters. It's by Felecia Graham and me. And so we have been working together in projects, Felecia and I, since early 2020, including a tenant portrait series and a reading of A Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. And so for the next slide, I wanted to share with you the video that Felecia and I first worked on in early 2020. Oh, I think the sound has to. There we go. Thanks. And what do you do for work?
So I am a doula. A doula is someone who educates and empowers birthing people before, during, and after the birth. It's basically how they want to be supported. Just helping with the healing process after the birth. I do placenta encapsulation, which I just basically make their placentas in capsules and they can eat them however they want to. Yeah.
Did you eat your placenta?
No, I did not eat my placenta. They wouldn't even give me my placenta. I asked for it and they wouldn't do it. So I gave birth in Texas. So I asked for a lot of stuff that I didn't get. So really? Yeah.
But you would. You would eat your placenta.
I would encapsulate my placenta. Yes, I would, and eat it. Okay. It actually has some health benefits to it. Basically, especially if you're dealing with like postpartum depression and stuff, it balances your hormones. It helps you with breastfeeding and lactation and stuff. Like it's actually pretty good. Like some people be like, oh my God, placenta. And I'm like, placenta, yes, placenta, yes, placenta, yes, to yes. So,
Okay, and then how did you get into being a doula? Like what?
but my birthing experience made me really actually become a doula. Like the way my whole experience and how I was treated throughout my pregnancy, especially being Black, was crazy. Like I at first, like I knew somewhat about like systematic racism, especially in the hospital when you're dealing with birth, but I didn't know to what far like extent.
Mm-hmm.
That was like a rude awakening, and I'm just like, I do not want anyone to feel that small or like feel like their feelings don't matter during their birth, because it does. Like, this is your birthing experience. This is your birthday too, along with your child. Like, you're bringing life into this world. You shouldn't be stressed. You shouldn't be treated as such in this like special time.
So if you get back to the slides, and so that was the beginning of our relationship, and then we began our artist residency at O82 in September 2020. And so I was interested in Felicia's work and passion. If you could go to the next slide, Rena. I was interested in Felicia's work and passion as a doula, and we talked about how the services for Black mothers and families aren't inadequate in Southeast Portland. We then researched the infant mortality rate and found out that it's the highest for African Americans in Oregon and nationally. Knowing this, we both wanted to center the Black experience in birth work because it's constantly overshadowed. Next slide. So we researched other artists and reproductive justice leaders like Adrienne Maree Brown and Taja Lindley, and we're interested in creating more visibility about the importance of doulas for Black families. So when we were looking at Taja Lindley's work, Felecia spontaneously wrote a poem called Hush Little Baby. Next slide, thanks. And then Felecia, if you wanna read the poem.
Sure, hi everybody, I'm Felecia. This is my poem, Hush Little Baby. And I'm going to read it. Hush, hush, hush. You'll be fine. What is your pain level? You'll be fine. Hush, hush, hush. Push, push, push. I can't feel my baby. Hush, hush, hush. I don't feel well. Hush, hush, hush. Can I see my baby? Hush, hush, hush. Help. Help me, please. Hush, hush, hush. You're all right. No, I am not. Hush, hush, hush. My baby, I want to see my baby. Hush, hush, hush. My baby. All I see is darkness. Hush, hush, hush.
Thank you, Felecia. Yeah, so I was just really impressed with like Felecia having these creative spurts while we were doing this research together. And so, we were doing this research and knowing that Felecia has an incredible network, she started interviewing fellow birth workers about their experiences. I think Michelle just popped in. Hi, Michelle, a fellow birth worker. And so while Felecia was doing interviews, could you go to the next slide? I did more research about the history of doulas in the African American community. Looking at our research, we really wanted Black parents, families, and birth workers to be able to live with dignity, respect, and support. And so we took all of research and made a book called Black Birth Matters. And so this book has the history of doulas in the African American community. Next slide. And so it has cultural and care practices by birth workers from the past to now. Next slide. Ancestral knowledge, affirmations. Next slide. And then if you could, and then interviews of Felecia and other local birth workers, Michelle Smith and Tiara Salmon. If you could do next slide. So that's Michelle. And then Tiara. And so now I'd like to hand it over to Felecia to share her interview that's in the book. Next slide, please.
Okay. Hey. So why I became a doula. So during my last pregnancy, I experienced racially induced traumatic stress from multiple care providers. And during the pregnancy, the birth, and the postpartum period, I didn't like how I was treated as a woman, as a Black woman, and as a new mom. I want to help support Black women and other birthing folks to minimize Black infant mortality rate, along with systematic racism dealing with pregnancy and postpartum in the postpartum period for Black birthing folks. I want to help educate women, other birthing folks, especially Black birthing folks and their families when it comes to having a safe, healthy, and confident pregnancy, birth, and postpartum period. As I am going through this experience and undergoing this journey with my clients, I feel like I am called to do this work. I'm a healer. I want to help in every way possible when it comes to empowering birthing folks. As I learn and grow, I'm training now to become a death doula, fertility doula, a cannabis doula, and a sex doula, making me a full spectrum doula in training. I'm so excited for this work, and I have so much positive energy to give, and I just can't wait to give it. And so, yeah, you can go to the next slide. So my whole pregnancy journey was very difficult. I dealt with the father of my son lying to me about being able to have children, and then getting pregnant and him not wanting to be involved, and then it turning into like being violent and me going to a DV shelter, and then being abused there by not just him, the staff, and the other women there in the shelter. And then to like being like the systematic racism by horrible providers. I went to 3 different doctors or 3 different providers. One was actually a midwife, and the other 2 was just my OBs. And I wanted to eat vegan, have a natural birth, and I kept being told no. I know it didn't go as planned, but I know that I don't want this to happen to any other Black birthing folks in their pregnancy journey. I knew in my mind from the moment after I left the hospital that I was going to be a doula. I was determined to help others with similar situations as myself. And since then, that is what I've done. I am more knowledgeable about birthing rates in Black community, veganism, and going the natural approach to birth, which includes herbs, doulas, midwives, unassisted births, water births, home births, and naturopathic doctors. I'm influenced by every Black birthing person before me. I'm inspired by the granny midwives. I'm influenced by my ancestors before me who paved the way for me today. I was trained by Miss Sophia Monroe, who is a Black midwife here in Portland. I am inspired by the many Black birth workers here in Portland and around the world, making positive impacts on women and other birthing folks and families around the world. There are many more that I will encounter, and I can't wait to continue this journey. It's gonna be awesome.
Yes, it will. Thank you, Felecia. And so in addition to the book, we created an exhibition at Orchards of Haque that highlights all of the content we discovered the past year. So we had, the book was made and the prints were made through a risograph. And so I made prints highlighting the content of the book. And so we took out some quotes and printed them. The one on the right is from Tracy Collins. And then we wanted to share images of Black birth work, Black love, of Black families. So Felecia was able to get these pictures from her networks. Do you want to talk about these photos, Felecia?
And these are just some of the families that I helped and gave advice to, and pictures of me and my birth and my son, and some of the placenta and cord sake art that I did. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so all of these families you've just nurtured into the birthing process and still connected with. So just a lot of like Black life and Black love, and there's Zamai in there too. Felicia's little Zamai. So in the next slide, we have a couple of more quotes. One is from Felecia that on the left, and then on the right is another midwife and Black birth worker doula that I realized that we melanated mamas are not treated the same in the hospital or out of the hospital for that matter. And then the next slide. And then these are prints of Michelle and Tiara. And then Felecia gathered all these great resources. And so we made a print for that too in the exhibition. And then we have copies of the book available for the residents. The next slide. So they're available there too, so that people that live in the building can view it or take a copy of the book. And so, yeah, that's the exhibition. If you could go to the final slide. Yeah, this is the exhibition. And so that's currently on view at Orchards of 82nd, and it's available to see by appointment. If you could stop sharing. And the last part of our presentation, we just wanted to reiterate that this project is to uplift the stories and experiences of Black mothers, families, and doulas and birth workers. So now I'll ask if Felecia, if you want to share about your past year about being a doula and your experience of a home birth in Africa.
Yes. Oh, hold on. Am I on mute? No? Yes?
You're good.
I hear you.
Okay, sorry. Something popped up on my screen. I'm like, what? I can't see. Sorry. So this past year, I didn't get a lot of births, but I did. My first birth of the year was an actual home birth that I had in Africa with one of my friends. I was her backup doula. And just compared to all the births that I did last year, and most of them were all hospital births, some were unmedicated and some weren't, which was kind of cool. But just being at a home birth and like with someone who has, this was their third child. It was unassisted. They didn't have any doctors. I was in Senegal. I was in Simone, Senegal, by Dakar. And she was a rock star. And I just couldn't believe that, I mean, I could believe because I know that we should not fear birth because we are made to birth. And she, compared to my other births, she did not like cry. She didn't like really like scream. She basically just breathed through her contractions. She did a water birth, and it was awesome. She pushed the baby out easily, and I was just shocked. We used affirmations, we used salt crystals, essential oils, and it was totally different from all the experiences I've had while dealing with like in the hospital with medical interventions and stuff, and the monitoring, and you can't eat, and you can't do this, and you can't do that. So it was pretty cool, and to get that experience and actually have my first home birth in Africa. So that was really nice. And yeah,
Cool.
and I did have another home birth this year too, and it was at home, and it was different for her too from all the other births. She did have a midwife and a midwife assistant, and she gave birth in her bed, and we never made it to the pool, even though we filled it up. And she did unmedicated, and she did affirmations and had essential oil diffusers too. And it was just a beautiful thing. It was different, and that's what I like to see. Like just being free and being able to like just hold your own and be empowered and confident that you can give birth and just be in your own space.
Thank you. Thanks, Felecia. And so I also, Michelle, you don't have to, but if you wanted to say anything, we just wanted to give you space to about your experience in the project or just any experience that you've had during birth work. But no pressure, just wanted to create space for that. And I see you in the chat too, so that's cool too. And also chat source list if that's helpful for anybody. You can share that along. And in closing, I just want to say that this is the book, and then like the affirmations that, can you really see? So the back cover is just full of affirmations that Felecia was talking about. And so this book is for Felecia to use and to share with prospective clients, and it's free for Black birth workers, parents to be, and families. And then for everyone else, we are taking a sliding scale donation between $5 and $15, and all of the funds will go towards Felicia's continued birth work. And then we just wanted to thank all the people that have helped us get here. Thank you, huge thank you this past year to Felecia, Graham. You've been amazing collaborator to work with. I'll give a quick thank you, and then yes, I'll get Michelle up here. Thank you to Noon Studios, Grima Thakore and Sharita Town, who helped print the books and prints for the exhibition. Thank you to Charles at Everhart Press for helping produce the books. Thank you to Michelle, Myra, Tiara, Trejolet for sharing their experiences with us. And thank you for the artist residency cohort. Nikki, Sabina, Myra, Cary, Candace, and of course, APANO. Thank you for everything. And then Michelle, if you wanted to say some words, we'd love to hear from you.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, I am not prepared, but I've been in meetings all day. So I'm glad to catch this. I'm super proud, first of all, of this work. Felecia, I have a privilege and honor of saying I've known Felecia since we were children. So it's amazing being able to work shoulder to shoulder with her in birth work. But just to see the things that she is doing and her passion for birth work and birth work justice is just absolutely amazing. So I was honored to even share some words or even be a part of this. So I'm super excited. I would love to donate and make a donation just to support and get that in my hands so that we can, make sure we get it to some other Black birth workers as well. But yeah, this was amazing. You guys did an amazing job.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. We'll get you copies. So yeah, that's it. That's all I got. That's all you got. Felecia, anything else?
Thank you, everybody. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roshani. Thank you, Felecia. Thank you, Michelle. Roshani, Felecia, if you want to put any relevant links in the chat, if folks want to support the work, please do. It's incredible. I feel like I've also learned a ton about birth work over the year and just being a witness. So it's super powerful. Welcome to folks who also joined us during our last presentation. We're hearing from all of our artists in residence, and they're sharing their work, which they've been working on for the past year. And next up, we have Cary, Miga, and Myra, Aldan. So I will pass it to them to share their work. The computer is okay.
Hi, everybody. My name is Cary, Miga, and I just want to say a huge thank you to Roshani and Felecia for that incredible presentation and all the work and research you've done.
Hi, my name is Myra. I really loved how Felecia put that together. I'm one of the women that she helped give birth to my daughter Avery, and I have to say she's the most wonderful doula I've ever had. She was very supportive, very understanding, and I honestly couldn't have done it without her. And I can't wait to see her prosper through this. This is such a wonderful idea. And I just want to say thank you for your guys' project. It's beautiful and heart-touching.
Absolutely.
You're welcome.
Yes, that energy, keep that energy. So Myra and I, as part of the East Portland Art and Justice Lab, we wanted to essentially investigate some of the inequities within the East Portland elementary school system during COVID-19 pandemic. And this is really us asking questions of what could we do for the kids during the pandemic. And before that, I wanted to reintroduce Myra again and give a little bit of backstory about her. You want to go ahead, Myra?
Just a moment. The reason I wanted to make this book additionally is because I wanted to make this book is because coronavirus has impacted a lot of families in our community, and I wanted to be able to educate the children of these families that reading is important for their learning. And children of these families go to school and have had a revert to doing their schooling through a computer. And in doing so, it has affected the way they get to learn and interact with each other. Coronavirus has affected my family as well. And I needed to find a way where they can also be inspired to learn, because we might not know how, exactly how coronavirus will continue to stick around and if it will get worse. Books are fun and great way to introduce children to ideas, and it's dire to their mental growth as little people. And also gives a way for parents to get closer with their children as they are educating themselves on the virus.
Very well said, Myra. I just want to give a little bit of background. Thanks to APANO for asking me to be an artist in residence, asking Myra and I. Originally, I'm a musician, and so it's a big honor to be involved in doing something like this, creating an art installation and focusing our energies into a project. So my background is totally in music, from working for weddings, performances, singer-songwriters, to more corporate events, whether that's working for Nike or TEDx, things of that nature, and then pop-up performances throughout the Portland metro area. So we wanted to basically have an investigation of what we could do for these kids during the pandemic. And we just asked questions regarding what is the availability of technology like for our children during the pandemic? Are they having access to iPads? Are they having access to tablets, chargers, all of these things to help facilitate them going to school online? Are they getting support from teachers and peers? Are they getting that wraparound support system from their educators and classmates? Additionally, are they getting the parental support, mental and physical health during this time? Myra, can you speak a little bit about adequate mental and physical health support from teachers and their parents during the COVID pandemic?
I mean, it's very crucial. Mental health has a lot on us nowadays, because we have to stay inside. The only way we could really communicate with each other right now as we speak is through technology. And it's nice. And I advocate for mental health. I struggle with mental health day-to-day life, and I feel like the teachers and the kids are having a lot of fun with it, because it's hands with work. And you never know, like sometimes, because I struggle with, I have a special ed, and we don't know if those kids need, that extra help. Probably the parents are not there to help them through it. Maybe if they need extra help on what to learn or how to say or when to do it. So at this point, I think it's pretty interesting.
It is. And it brings us to another point. Essentially, the use of the computer and the use of all this technology during the pandemic seemed to Myra and I to be a little abstract for the adults, for the teachers, and especially for the kids. And we wanted to start focusing and narrowing down our ideas to how do we take such an abstract concept, the use of all this technology during this time, how
long it's going to be, most importantly, because we don't really know, especially we don't really know how long this coronavirus is going to last. And we don't know what we can do to provide the community itself, because some of us suffer from low income. Some of us can't even afford technology. Some of us are struggling to make payments with rent, with sometimes people can only afford paying their rent and their electricity bill, or even just a little bit of amount of money to feed themselves. So it's ultimately it's a pretty tough situation, but I hope this book could also help kids, or even, find different programs, or even, trying to reach out to something that would be able to give this hope.
As somebody who grew up in Southeast Portland, also, all of that, what you said resonates with me. Asking questions of equitable access during COVID-19, are the children throughout our community to have these opportunities for resources? Do we have student representation for alternative learning students, disabled, BIPOC, non-binary, first generation immigrant, non-English speaking, and low-income students? How are they being represented online? These are among the myriad of questions Myra and I asked, especially as someone who does come from, my mother came from Vietnam in the late 70s. So this was very important to me and very close to home. Equity within the Portland school system during COVID-19. And like Myra said, some of us are low income, or those are the families that we come from, and whether or not we're not English speaking, all these different variations are essential for us to think about and consider. Not only that, we wanted to address and talk about the relationship between students and their parents as much as we can during this time, as it can be a little tricky. Are students being supported by their parents? Is it safe at home? Are our parents safe? Are our kids safe? Are we getting cultural consideration? When the screen comes on, are our kids seeing themselves, whether or not they're Black, brown, yellow, and every variation of that, especially for religious reasons, and just the stress of the pandemic overall on these children. And thanks to Myra, we really have such a deep understanding too, as she is a mother and lives in Southeast Portland as well. So we're very close to the heart of the issue and addressing it as best as we can. And finally, we decided, oh, Myra, go ahead, you're good.
I know, like me as a parent, I like to, emotionally talk to my child and interact with them in a way where they feel like they're understood. You know what I mean? And I feel like, this book, I want to read it to them. It's amazing. I read it and it was just absolutely phenomenal. And I want to be able to read it to them every night, even though there's no, at a certain age, kids comprehend in a different way. They have different milestones. They have different comprehension. They grow in different ways that our minds couldn't imagine. We were once kids. We grow in our own different ways. And I feel like if, what if those parents are not really getting hands-on hand, interaction with them? Are they, trying to help them through, their schooling? Even though they work, it's hard. Parents come home from work, they're exhausted, they're tired. Maybe we can make another class that could help these kids that don't have that extra support, and I don't know, there's just so many different ideas, brainstorming, different sites of how we can do this. And I feel like I have that, since I have Cary, because we've been, trying to mix the pot, brewing it. It is just, sprouting different ideas and these different chemistries at this point. And I'm really stoked. I'm really excited, and I want to know what else I can do.
Between Myra's and I brainstorming, we decided what would our impact be with the East Portland Art and Justice Lab. And we came up with the computer is okay, or okay computer, no copyright infringement intended, with any musical acts associated. We took books such as Julian is a Mermaid, Sulwe by Lupita Nyong'o, Chicka Chicka Boom Boom, just for their subtlety and inclusion, and also overtness and inclusion in how they speak about the children. And we decided to make a children's book dedicated to the students of the East Portland public school systems who have shown great resiliency during the COVID-19 pandemic. And we came up with this. The computer is okay. This is written by myself and Myra, and it was illustrated by Vincent Kukua. Huge thank you to Vincent for his incredible work and dedication to our project. And we'd like to share with you our book.
Cary, I don't know if you're sharing the book, but we can't see it. Or I can't see it.
It just shows introducing OK Computer, but it doesn't show the book itself. If you get what I'm saying.
We're still on the last slide.
There you go. Okay, right there. We found it.
Better?
Yes, we got it.
Looks good.
For the East Portland Art and Justice Lab, this is our book, The Computer is Okay, written by myself and Myra, and illustrated by Vincent Kukua. This book is dedicated to Stefania Ramirez and her class at Lentz K-5 school. There is a school teacher named,
Oopsie.
Sorry about that. There is a school teacher named Stefania. She loves her class of 12 students for how smart and funny they are.
They love learning and sharing and talking together during class. But one day, a very mean disease named coronavirus appeared and hurt so many people around the world.
The coronavirus forced Stefania to work from home. It also forced her students to stay home. From now on, Stefania and her students had to attend school online. They had to sit at their computers for hours. They start every class with the poem, Tu eres mi otro yo, written by the Mayan Lakesh people.
Graciela is one of the Stephanie's students. Graciela loves going to school online. She even has her own little classroom corner, and I quote, set up and always ready. Danielle is another Stephanie student. He also loves having class online. He is not the best reader, so he is always practicing.
Danielle's father, who works on a farm, got sick with coronavirus one day, so his family had to wear masks at home and separate themselves from him. Luckily, Danielle gets to FaceTime them when he is sick, so I guess the computer is okay.
Bola is always prepared for class. Even if she is in the car, she is still ready to learn. Pola is always prepared for class, even if she's in her car, Tia or Tio's house. When Stephanie's students have to stay inside all day, they can still see their friends online. So they say, I guess the computer is okay.
Stefania is happy her students get to see each other online every day. So now she starts to say, I guess the computer is okay. Without the computer, Stefania and her students would not be able to talk and meet online every day. So months into this wild pandemic, they begin to say, the computer is okay.
Now Stephanie and her students can see each other, sometimes in real life, but still use the computer every day. So everyone will say, the computer is okay. The end. I like it, it's so cute.
And we didn't make a slide about it, but I do want to say a verbal huge thank you to Myra for writing this book with me, for producing all of our work, and for being there around every corner and turn for all of our research. She has been so engaged and always constantly learning, and has been such an incredible artist to work with. And I'm so excited for her growth as a parent, as a mother, as a student, in every way. Huge thank you to Candace, to Nikki, to Roshani, to Felecia, to Sabina for supporting Myra and I the whole step of the way, offering such kindness and constructive criticism, and being so generous with their ideas and thoughts and time for this past year. Huge thank you to APANO for supporting Myra and I in the process of creating this book.
Thank you for helping me so much to see what my gifts as well as an artist that, I've been working on since I was 6 years old. I never would imagine getting where I am. You know what I mean? And I just want to appreciate you guys for making this community the way it is right now, because it warms my heart that I get to also inspire my own children and as well as myself, because this gives me another outlook of what I can do in the near future. And I just want to thank you, Candace, Roshani, and everyone else. Even the peers that I'm working with, as well as Felecia and Cary and Nikki. You guys are wonderful people, and I really appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Before we close, I just want to present the, if everyone can see this, what our install looks like at 082. And we're going to be having more books coming for the residents to take and have. And we're going to be having more books for the students of Stefania's class, as well as our cohort. So thank you again.
Cary and Myra, that is amazing. And it's incredible that it's also based on a real class, on a real teacher, and just you've done amazing work and creating something that's so timely and so of this moment. There's nothing quite like it out there, I think. So thank you for that. I love it. I can't wait to see the actual physical book.
Thank you for helping me. It's such an honor.
No problem. We'll pass it to our last group of artists, our last pair of artists, Sabina Haque and Nikki Acevedo. So please take it away, and we're excited to see what you have.
Okay, thank you. Give me a minute. There we go. All right. I'm going to let Nikki start our presentation. I'm Sabina Haque, and my pronouns are she, her, and Nikki, want to go ahead?
Of course. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nikki Acevedo, and I'm a resident artist from Orchards of 82nd. Since September of 2020, I've been working with my mentor, Sabina Haque, on the artist residency program. And I'm really proud to present the work we've done with the residents at Orchards, as well as the families within the Southeast Portland community. So I present to you our project titled Forgotten Birds, which focuses on family separations at the US-Mexico border. So before we dive into the specifics of the project, a little background about the artist. Like I said, my name's Nikki. I'm the proud daughter of a strong and resilient Mexican immigrant mother and Black working class man. I'm originally from Los Angeles, South Central LA to be exact. And I think being raised in my early years in such a diverse area and seeing the brokenness within my community and all the discrimination that was going on, I was taught early on the importance of uplifting my community and to appreciate and embrace the differences among people, and to not just celebrate my culture, but other people's cultures and traditions. And so that was really a theme throughout this project. My intent was to really be as inclusive as possible and invite the community to engage and share their traditions. And I feel that that's honestly the type of healing that we all really need in this day and time. And I'm super grateful to APANO for giving me the opportunity and the platform to be able to share my perspective with others. So next I'll hand it over back to Sabina, who'll give you a little background about herself and her work.
Thanks, Nikki. So my work is really about stories of migration and belonging. I grew up raised in Pakistan by a white American mother who currently has lived there 45 years, and my Pakistani father who was born in India before the partition, which was it was a colonial state run by the British. And this is an etching called Lost at Sea, and it's a story of my grandmother and my father and all of his siblings lost literally in the Arabian Sea on their way from India, from Bombay to Karachi, their new home, and they were trying to move to Karachi or migrate during the Great Migration, where 15 million people transcended borders in literally one summer. So I was really connected with Nikki on this project, and I want to talk to you about it now. So the Forgotten Birds uses art, cultural traditions to bring about healing, hope, and solidarity to the members of our diverse immigrant community. We did this with a series of workshops with a lot of youth and community members that live in and around East Portland, and specifically Orchards of 82nd. We did a crane workshop here. We constructed beautiful bird cages. And the idea that Nikki researched was to transform that symbol of inhumane treatment of the migrant children in ICE custody We also wrote messages of hope, and we're going to read some of those to you today on ribbons. And then we also built altars and ofrendas for the Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead. And I'm still learning how to pronounce it, but I really, for the first time, understood this through Nikki's eyes, and it really connected to a loss that I had that was very dear to me. So it is about transformation, this project, and we're going to share with you how that happened. This is all the pieces that came together, and this is our installation at Orchards of 82nd that Nikki and I put together. And honestly, Nikki put in so much work. We have over 400 cranes that were made by the community, and we had to sew each of those. And Nikki sewed, I think, 3/4, like 20 of these strands, 15 strands, and she showed pretty much like 10 of them. So, and all the boxes. So anyway, I really appreciate her energy and just getting through to Nikki. I'm going to pass it to you. You're going to talk about how we got to this point, and all the workshops you conceived. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabina. Yeah, so like she brilliantly stated, our goal for this project was to really honor our community by celebrating its diversity, by crossing traditions to bring hope and healing and unity. This installation combines the intricate Japanese tradition of holding origami cranes with the Latin American tradition of building altars and making ofrendas for the Dia de Muertos, or Day of the Dead. So our first workshop in our Forgotten Bird series, we kicked off on September 11th. So for the bird cages, we took inspiration from an installation by Australian artist Michael Thomas Hill. And he suspended empty bird cages in the air while playing songs of birds once heard in Sydney, Australia, before they were forced into extinction by European settlement. And so in order to bring awareness to the US border separations and the inhumane treatment of migrant families, we worked with Orchards of 82nd families and kids to share stories of healing and constructed the beautiful bird cages that you see today. And so here's a picture of me and Sophia and Angelita, who are two residents of Orchards of 82nd. They really had a really good time making the bird cages and decorating, and they just felt super honored to be a part of this experience. And then here's a picture of Isa and Katie, who are neighbors from Orchards of 82nd. They live across the street, and they happened to just they just ran into our event that day. So I was really blessed that we were able to connect and meet with them, because they've just been super involved and super supportive of our project, and are excited to, involved with any other things that we have going on. And so I'm just really grateful for the opportunity to connect with families that I wouldn't normally connect with. And so here's a picture of the bird cages after the workshop. And then if you go over to the next slide, this is kind of the next element of our workshop, which were the cranes. So in Japan, it's believed that if one folds 1,000 origami cranes, one's wish will come true. And so Portland's Japanese immersion students helped us fold hundreds of cranes to remember the thousands of migrant families, AKA the forgotten birds, who were pulled apart at the US-Mexico border. As of May 2021, 391 children were separated. Earlier when we did research, it was 445. So we're happy to announce that there's been more families that have been found, but it's still, the search continues. The colorful cranes soaring freely out of their cages symbolize our hope for these families to be freed from detention centers and unified with their loved ones. And so Sabina is going to talk a little bit more about the process of making cranes.
Yeah, my son here, Samir, he has been studying Japanese with his sister since the age of 4. And this is my lovely friend, Hiroko Saso, and her daughter, Irose, who we've known for almost 10 years. And she's demonstrating how to make the origami paper cranes over here. And then you can see that Samir is quite a pro on it. I honestly have only contributed 1 crane to this installation. I am not a good folder of origami, but thankfully for the youth that were there, and they're going to show you some key players here. And we want to just appreciate them as we show them. This is Maya. She is an amazing child. Well, she's a high schooler now. This is my daughter, Sophia, and this is Claire Anderson. And they all came to the workshop at last minute, and Maya made 65 cranes single-handedly with her family. I think Nancel also helped her mom, but we really appreciate the youth that came out that day and then continued to work on this project after that day. And we'll continue hopefully to get to our 1,000 goal. And then again, we have family members from the Laotian community and the Korean American community and their daughter, Isla. And this is Anna Cho and David Cho. They all got together and they made 200 cranes, folded 200 cranes, including their Isla's grandmother, who actually left Laos in 1980 and came here as a refugee with her 4-year-old daughter, which is Anna Cho. So, you know, the real community really came behind this, and they also worked with us to write their messages of hope, because in the end, this has been a process of like connecting to loss, but also connecting to the hope and the healing. And so here we see prayer ribbons at the demilitarized zone in the border of North and South Korea, which is where we took our inspiration. And the ribbons are tied to the fence by the visitors who are wishing peace between North Korea and South Korea and reunification of those family members. And having married an Indian man, and I live with an Indian mother-in-law, and when my parents come, it's always interesting, those conversations. So it is challenging when you live in a country where there are divisions amongst yourself and then there are divisions amongst your neighbors. How can we come together? How can we see the hope and how can we see the commonalities that we have between us? So let's move to, Nikki is going to talk about our altars and how we just had the festival, which was on November 1st, right, Nikki?
Yes. So Dia de los Muertos is a Mexican American tradition celebrated on November 1st and 2nd. It's a time to celebrate our lost loved ones and remember and honor our ancestors. Resident families at Orchards of 82nd created altars for their loved ones who have passed on. And we also wanted to honor and remember the 6 children that died in ICE custody, the folks who died due to COVID, and the precious lives lost on 9/11, being that our first workshop was on the 30th anniversary of that tragic day. So this collaborative artwork inspires our community to lift each other up in difficult times. We find connection through our hardships and support one another by sharing our various traditions of healing. And this is just kind of more pictures of that process. We worked with family members to make altars, like we stated, and so we rented out the community space in Orchards. This is Isa. I worked with her a couple times on the altar. She was really excited to be a part of it. Her and her family actually celebrate Dia de los Muertos every year, and they made a cute little educational video for other kids, so that way they could learn about all the different elements that go on. And they honestly taught me a little bit myself about, you know, the different traditions that goes into it. So it was really cool to kind of share experiences and just kind of, yeah, create this hope and healing within the community. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity. And here are more pictures of the altar.
So yeah, we wanted to share with you that we did include the 6 children that lost their lives in the custody of ICE. And we wanted to remember them today in our presentation and to remember their names and faces. Pictured here are just 3 of them, but we have all 6 of them. And we want to take a moment with you, like a minute, to show you their pictures and their ages and just say their names out loud in a moment of peace and quiet and remembrance. And this is Felipe Gomez Alonso. He was 8 years old.
And this is Jacqueline Cow.
Just a minute.
Sorry. Jacqueline Cow, age 7, from Guatemala.
This is, oh, oh. Okay, sorry about that. Oh my gosh, okay.
We don't need, I don't think we need that.
Yeah, that, okay.
And this is Darlene Cristobal Cordova Valle, 10 years old. Juan de Leon Gutierrez, 16 years old. Carlos Hernandez Vasquez, 16 years old. And Marie Juarez, 20 months old. 20 months old.
Thank you for that moment. We want to share with you now the messages of hope that were written on the ribbons by all of our community members that participated and that we named in this thing, in this wonderful exhibit. And I'm going to now share with you the video. This video will link to the Forgotten Birds installation. It's 2 minutes long, and it's a way for us to connect to our losses and to find healing and hope and connection in these challenging times. Nikki, you have the messages, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're going to share this full screen. Okay, you can go ahead and read them.
You are never truly alone. Even in your darkest time, there is someone praying, caring, and wishing you all the best and helping you get to where you need to be. Mackenzie from Orchards of 82nd. My hope is that those who are displaced will find welcoming homes and communities where we can find common ground and wish the best for all of our families and children's futures. Erica from Roseway Heights Middle School. Love, hope, resilience. I can't promise to fix all your problems, but I can promise that you won't have to face them alone. We will come together and support each other in unity. Sophia, age 14. Even if you stop and rest, you haven't given up. Maya, age 14. My hope is that the families who were separated find each other and are reunited soon. Claire, age 14. Sending you love, hope, and strength in a difficult time. May you find light in the darkness. There are people who love and care for you. You are not forgotten. Cling to the good things. Hold tight to hope. Katie Campos, neighbor of Orchards of 82nd.
Thank you, folks. We just want to say a big thank you to everyone that participated in all of our workshops and all of our community-driven events, the Japanese American community, and most of all to Nikki here, who tirelessly worked through all kinds of trials and tribulations with so many people, and in particular had the patience to work with me this whole year. Great appreciation for the stamina that it takes to work with community, to work with a partner and a mentor. And again, I would like to just extend our greatest support to all the people at APANO, Candace, Roshani, Cary, Felecia, and Myra for having us get through to this ending point here. Nikki, do you want to say anything?
I just want to thank APANO and thank you, Sabina, for your support and for helping me really show my vision and and just help me through this process.
We're all done. Clapping now. All right. I'm gonna turn it over to our hosts.
Wow,
You guys did
Sabina.
awesome.
Totally. I love folks chiming in the chat, verbally. Sabina, Nikki, your work is so powerful, stunning, and critical. And I know something I'm just reflecting on for you and all the artists is just how kind of intimately you've approached various things going on in your lives, you know, your experiences, and wove them into the work in these really incredible ways. And yeah, it's just, I think they speak volumes. I'm almost tearing up too. So we have just about 9 minutes left of our time together. And I have some questions just to do a short Q&A with all of you. But actually, I did want to turn it over to the chat. If folks have any questions that they definitely want to ask the artists, please go ahead and do so. So I want to make room for that. I know, and feel free to type them in the chat, or you can also just like come off mute if you want to do so.
I just want to say great job, everybody, and I'm saying it in the chat too. Great job. Good job.
I wanted to say thank you to Maria. She's one of my really best friends in here for writing out my my speech. I couldn't have done it without her. Oh my, I'm thankful for everyone in here. I appreciate everyone. That's just all I can say. I just want to give you guys a hug, but I can't.
Oh, so beautiful. And yeah, you can feel it through a screen. Yeah, there's warmth all around for sure. Well, as folks contemplate if they have questions, oh, Kelly has a question and raised their hand. Kelly, do you want to speak up?
Yeah, I trying to catch my breath here, but I am just blown away by everyone's presentation, and I want to really just bring out the fact that like a lot of this is coming from like work that is multiracial, intergenerational. You're bringing youth, you're bringing like our ancestors into this space, and I really, really appreciate that. I also, I guess, like my question really for all the artists is like, how do we, or how do you imagine your work living on in like the youth that you're obviously affecting? Like, you're all like caregivers, you're all working with youth. How do you think that we can continue to do this work and especially center like our youth and like continue to have these conversations with them in the work that you're doing for everyone?
Kelly, I'm Sabina. Thank you for your comments. I think youth, I mean, young children, I mean, my 11-year-old, he's just so present, you know, and so like connected to his feelings in that moment, and he can take on big conversations and hard stuff. It's pretty amazing how, I mean, the other day he asked me, what happens to the baby when the mom has the abortion? So like we have to have this really challenging conversation because he knows I believe in women's right to choice, and he does too, but he brought this to a whole other level, right? Like, how do we get past all the noise and the politics? How do we really connect to people? How do we see past the differences? I mean, in my own family, right? Like, how do we see past those, my American side, my Indian side? You know, there's just a whole range of, and I think youth are like, they're at the center of it. And if they can be honest, and we can be honest with them through art and practices that we can use. I think it can be a really important way to do the work. Thank you.
Does anyone else want to chime in on that question? I know that at least Cary, you're going to be giving some books to Stephania and her students. So maybe this will be something that lives on in echoes of readings in the future.
Myra and I definitely wanted to create something tangible for the kids. We're also inspired to target helping the children because Myra has children. As somebody who grew up in Southeast Portland, who is also one of those kids who we talk about over here, I wanted to give them something too because they make those differences and those changes. And I think starting to see those kids, starting to see these Asian kids and brown kids and Black kids and every shade and variation of, and start really overtly acknowledging seeing variation of skin color in a book, because a lot of us, maybe not, but some of us grow up with these books where all the kids are, homogenous. And I wanted us to just really target and specifically represent these children, especially in Southeast Portland. I went to David Douglas. It's the most diverse school in Oregon. It's the largest school in Oregon. When I graduated, we had about 3,000 students in 2012. I can't imagine how many kids are there now. And I wanted the kids to have something, not only Myra's kids, but Stephania's kids, and also the families at 082, something tangible they can hold and keep.
Thanks for the comments, Kelly, and the question. I just want to say that the thing that I learned the most and really respect and was very impressed by Felecia was just that, we have these systems in place and environments like public schools and hospitals and all of these places that aren't spaces where people can show up as their whole selves. And what Felicia's just been doing and just creating and operating in this network that's all about care and support. So just starting with centering the Black mother, but then also the child is once they're born, and then just redefining what family is. And it's not just your immediate family, it's your chosen family. It's your aunties and uncles and neighbors and stuff like that. So just redefining these other alternative spaces and relationships, from the beginning, from birth, and creating this kind of network and community. That's been happening, and that's what so many Black folks and folks of color have just been doing automatically in the States, and then just across the world. And so to be able to center that and that, and reject the other systems that are just already in place now. I feel that's one thing that I'm definitely going to keep with me. And Felecia, I feel is already doing.
Something that I kind of just recognized in this very moment, kind of seeing all your presentations in full, is that your projects have kind of spanned birth, life, death, and beyond, and that's really powerful. I mean, we're in Scorpio season, it's that existential time, but I think it didn't quite hit me until just this moment, and knowing that there was a question earlier that someone had asked in the chat about what a death doula is. I don't know if Felecia, you want to weigh in on that. I think there were some curiosities, but we're going through the whole life cycle here.
Oh no, I didn't even see that question, but it's just that's what Michelle is. She's a infant pregnancy and infant loss grievance doula. That's basically what it is a death doula. So if you have a miscarriage, or a stillbirth, or a baby dies after you gave birth within the first year, you have someone that can help you through that whole process.
That's.
Am I on mute?
You're not. We heard you, Felecia. Thanks for sharing.
Felecia, that was my question. I really appreciate that. That's really beautiful. And I'm glad that you're getting so much training. The next one is like, what's the sex doula? I need to know about that.
Well, no, I haven't taken that one yet, but I learned about that interviewing another doula when I first started. And she was talking about going to Atlanta and learning how to help couples have better sex. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Part of the birth, life, death, the rebirth cycle, right? We're kind of hitting a lot of the key points here. Well, I know we need to wrap up soon in preparation for our next EPALF event. But I did want to kind of leave space for the artists. Is there anything that's coming up for you that you want to share or that you want to leave folks with as we wrap up? And I'll just leave it open for y'all to chime in if you'd like.
One thing I want to say is that we've done all of this during a global pandemic. And so that was hard and challenging, and like we lived through all of the like loss and like the births and all of those things. So I'm just very grateful for everybody showing up today. It's been a wonderful process this past year, a challenging one, and I feel like we've all grown in this process. So thank you.
Yeah, I just want a round of appreciation of how we got through all this community work, Nikki, and all of you, Cary, talking to your teacher, and Myra, like just, I mean, it's pretty incredible. I'm excited to see the recording of this talk because, I mean, this is really excellent that we were able to get, I mean, in the beginning, we were kind of terrified as mentors, like, how is this going to work? But, you know, look at what happened a year later. Amazing.
I always was told this too shall pass, because I'm very spiritual person, and I have to tell you, like, you know, before it gets better, you have to go through the worst. You know what I mean? You have to go through the worst in order to reach that main goal. So you gotta focus on the prize instead of everything else that's going around you, because that's gonna shake you. It's gonna shake you and it's gonna knock you off. It's gonna keep trying and trying and trying.
Amen.
And yep.
Candace, there's a message. This recording will be available to participants. I arrived late and would like a copy.
Yes, it shall be. Nikki, Kara, Felecia, anything you want to add before we wrap?
Just want to again say thank you guys for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Yes, me too. Like I really appreciate all of the work that we all did, all the pushing, all the meetings, all the long nights and crazy reschedulings and everything, and just us all coming together and making this happen. It was an awesome experience, and I'm glad that we got this chance to work with each other and help each other and put on a great show. It was awesome, and I loved everyone's presentation, even though I was nervous about mine. But like just watching you guys, like it was awesome. So you guys did really great work, and I loved it. And I'm sorry I got to miss. I would have loved to come do some greens. I probably would have messed them up, but it would have been a cool learning process. So.
Hopefully we can do it again next year.
We want to add more.
Okay. Yeah, but and you know what? There's a reason why we meet people every single day. So I say this is destiny. There's a reason why we're in each other's journeys in life, because you know life is weird. There's you see people on the street. You're like, hey, I remember. You ever have those days where you're like, you remember someone? You're like, oh, there's a reason why we're crossing paths, and there's a reason why we all met each other today. And I just have to say, I enjoy you guys being a part of my journey, and I am pleased to be a part of your journey. And hopefully we could meet paths again in the near future, because I don't think I would have done it without you guys. With everything I've been through, with everything you've been through, you guys deserve it all, and we all deserve it all here. We all truly do.
Thank you, Myra.
You're welcome. I love you guys.
We love you too.
Thank you, everybody.
Well, thanks.
Email me if you want to come see the show. We have another event right after this, too.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Good luck, guys.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone. Take good care.
See you later. Love you guys. Have a nice night. Great retrograde we were going through though.